the spark in the tease. You open your phone, it's 2 a.m. Your screen glows like a portal. And there it is, a video of a pixelated rat spinning on a ceiling fan while opera blares in the background. The caption reads, "Me escaping the consequences of my actions. You, check a call, snort laugh." Scroll again. Now, a spaghetti-stuffed anime cat is screaming in auto-tune. Then, a Renaissance painting photoshopped onto a breakdancing penguin. This is Italian Brainrot. You're not sure what it means, but somehow it means everything.
Wow.
This bizarre internet phenomenon is everywhere. Surreal, absurdist memes slathered in faux Italian flags, deep-fried opera, nonsensical captions, and an almost ritualistic obsession with chaos. It shouldn't make sense, but your brain latches onto it like Velcro to wool.
난데?
Why? Why do we crave this kind of content, the kind that seems completely disconnected from logic, yet still triggers joy, confusion, and a strange sense of belonging? And what's with the Italian part? Is this national stereotype, irony, post-irony, a cultural joke with no punchline? Or is there something deeper going on? Something about how our brains process randomness, absurdity, and emotional overload? Because here's the weird part. This kind of content, this brain rot, doesn't just entertain you, it rewires you. And the science behind it? It's not just dopamine and doom scrolling. It's a story about overstimulation, narrative collapse, and the strange way modern internet culture mimics cognitive dissonance, where your brain is constantly trying to reconcile contradictory inputs, like Baroque statue plus Minecraft parkour plus Italian screaming. It's not nonsense. It's a coping mechanism dressed in chaos. So let's dive in. Let's explore the strange, surreal world of Italian brain rot and what it's quietly telling us about the modern mind. Imagine your brain as a grand old opera house. Velvet curtains, carved balconies, a full orchestra pit humming with anticipation. Now imagine someone kicks open the doors, rides in on a scooter made of spaghetti, throws glitter at the conductor, and starts screaming in Latin. That's what Italian brain rot feels like. And oddly, your brain loves it. But why? To understand that, we need to meet one of your brain's most misunderstood characters, the default mode network. Think of it like your mind's internal narrator, the part that kicks in when you're not focused on anything in particular. Daydreaming, wandering, making strange subconscious connections. The default mode network, or dementia for short, thrives on narrative. It tries to make sense of the world by stitching together cause and effect, a coherent timeline, a story. Now imagine what happens when you flood that system with pure absurdity. No plot, no logic, just chaos, repetition, irony, memes layered so deeply they start referencing themselves. That's like tossing a jigsaw puzzle into a blender and then asking the DMN to make it beautiful. And here's the wild part. It tries. Because the human brain hates loose ends. When confronted with contradictory or meaningless input, it does something fascinating. It starts creating meaning anyway. Like a dream that makes emotional sense but logical nonsense. Psychologists call this apophenia, the tendency to perceive patterns or connections in random or meaningless data. It's why we see faces in clouds, hear voices in static, laugh at memes that make zero sense on paper. And in a digital world overloaded with input, your brain's pattern-making machinery gets hungry. Italian brain rot feeds that hunger. It's chaotic, but beneath the chaos, it's oddly comforting. Because your brain is still solving something, still trying to find the hidden joke, the emotional thread, the thing that ties the opera-screaming rat to your own internal experience. In that sense, absurd memes aren't nonsense at all. They're gymnastics for your sense-making circuits. Which leads us to a strange question. What happens when your brain starts preferring absurdity over logic? When the surreal feels more familiar than the real? Well, that's when brain rot stops being a joke and starts becoming a survival strategy. The brain on overload. Why chaos feels like home. Picture your attention like an old-school radio dial. In the past, you tuned into one station at a time. A book, a conversation, a quiet walk. Now, you're flipping through static at hyperspeed. Opera here, TikTok trend there, a raccoon in a tracksuit shouting in faux Italian next. The result? Your brain's filtering system, specifically the reticular activating system, is stuck on high alert. The RAS is like a nightclub bouncer for your brain. It decides what information gets in and what gets bounced to the curb. Normally, it prioritizes danger, novelty, and emotional relevance. But in today's info blizzard, it's overwhelmed. Like trying to do crowd control at a mosh pit full of screaming Renaissance babies. So what gets through the noise? Absurdity, disruption, emotion cranked to 11. Italian Brainrot doesn't whisper, it shouts. It bypasses logic and goes straight for the limbic system, the part of your brain responsible for emotion, memory, and, well, panic spaghetti. It's not just funny, it's unignorable. And this, paradoxically, gives your overstimulated brain a sense of relief. In a world of constant sensory assault, surreal meme culture offers a strange kind of clarity. It's so exaggerated, so nonsensical, that it becomes predictable, safe, even. There's no ambiguity in a breakdancing Roman senator screaming, "Mamma Mia." There's no nuance in a pasta emoji war reenactment. It's not subtle, and that's the point. It's playful chaos, which is way easier to digest than real chaos, the kind wrapped in climate anxiety, existential dread, and algorithmic overload. And here's where it gets sneakily profound. Your brain isn't just reacting to absurd content, it's adapting to it. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, means that if you feed your brain randomness and rapid-fire absurdity often enough, it will begin to expect it, crave it, prefer it, and what starts as a joke becomes a pattern, a way of processing the world. So the next time you see a cursed Garfield doing backflips in a lasagna tornado while yelling in fake Italian, that's not just a meme. That's your brain saying, finally, something that makes sense. The reveal, when memes become mirrors. Let's rewind a little. Why does your brain need absurdity to feel okay? To answer that, we need to talk about a phenomenon known as narrative collapse. Narrative collapse is what happens when the stories we use to make sense of life, progress, meaning, stability, start to break down. Political chaos, climate crises, job insecurity, the internet turning every tragedy into trending content before breakfast. In other words, when reality itself starts to feel surreal, surrealism becomes reality's twin. Italian Brainrot isn't just random, it's reactive. It's your psyche's immune response to a world that no longer obeys the traditional rules of meaning. And in this weird emotional landscape, absurdist memes become a kind of emotional shorthand. A fast, funny way to express things that are actually very hard to talk about. Hopelessness, anxiety, loneliness, fear of the future, all wrapped in opera music and JPEGs of Julius Caesar making pasta. Because here's the thing, your conscious mind might be overwhelmed, but your emotional mind still wants connection. And these memes, these bits of hyper-weird culture, offer that, not through logic, but through recognition. They say, you feel like the world is melting? Cool, me too. Here's a raccoon in a Ferrari made of cheese. It's humor as self-defense, absurdity as solidarity, memes as emotional Morse code, and science backs it up. Studies on collective coping show that shared humor, especially surreal or dark humor, helps people process trauma and uncertainty. It offers distance without detachment. It says, this is insane, but you're not alone in thinking that. Which brings us back to the core question. Is Italian Brainrot destroying our attention spans? Maybe a little. But is it also helping us survive emotionally in a world full of digital madness? Absolutely. It's not just a glitch in the matrix, it's the meme version of a survival manual. One that reads, if nothing makes sense anymore, let's at least make it funny. The twist, a survival manual in disguise. So, you started this journey with a spinning rat and a pasta-fueled opera. What you found was something stranger and much more human. This wasn't just nonsense. It was a digital Rorschach test, a surreal mirror reflecting the chaos inside and outside your mind. A coping strategy camouflaged as comedy. Because let's face it, reality right now is exhausting. Every headline screams, every app demands your attention. And in that flood, your brain's old operating system, the one built for campfires in small villages, is short-circuiting. So it adapts. It rewires. It leans into absurdity, not to escape reality, but to process it, to reintroduce a little joy into the madness, to signal to others, I see the chaos too. That's what Italian Brainrot really is. A survival algorithm running on vibes, memes, and marinara. It's your default mode network scribbling poetry in the margins of a collapsing textbook. It's your reticular activating system saying, I can't block it all, so let's turn it into art. And maybe, just maybe, it's also a quiet kind of hope. Because underneath the irony, the emoji overload, the screaming opera cats and spaghetti tornadoes, is a simple human truth. We're still trying to connect, still trying to laugh, still trying to make meaning, even if that meaning shows up in a TikTok where a Roman statue kicks a meatball into the sun. So the next time you find yourself at 2 a.m. scrolling through deep-fried nonsense with a confused smile and a tired brain, don't feel guilty, feel seen. Because that weird little meme, it's not rotting your brain. It's reminding you in the most ridiculous, overcooked, fake Italian way possible that your brain is doing its best to survive a world it was never designed for. And that is kind of beautiful. And that's the strange science behind it all. Thanks for watching.